Hi there, it's Sarah from Inspire Tarot. Welcome to the channel. See what the message Spirit has for us today. Strength and death. Wow, so that's a powerful start. So yeah, we need inner strength on this path to go through the darkness. And the death card is all about going through a rebirth. So a death is all about endings. So often we think this ending is going to be something in form, but the ending can just be that we're moving through a cycle. It's not really about the form at all. The form is just to help us move through these cycles in the mind and clear out. And with the strength card, we're very much doing that. We're very much having to be resilient and persistent and calm and composed and brave. And just be compassionate with ourselves as we go through these different changes. And death, as we know, death is not really real in our human vessel. We feel as though death is a thing, but as I've said in one of my shorts recently, death is, in the bigger picture, it's just kind of no more a thing than taking our socks off. Not that taking our socks off is a thing, but we tend to think as death as the end of life, and that we're then gone from God, or that we go back to God. There's many different ways we can think about it, but death is just about rebirth and understanding that we can resurrect over and over. And every time we die to our old self, we come back a little bit stronger. We're letting go of a bit more of our false self and being reborn as a little bit closer to our true purified self. But because we listen to the ego a lot, we tend to think that we're not making any shifts, but we are making shifts always. We're always shifting in the unconscious mind. And the changes do become evident over time in that we feel better, and our external dream does shift also. Four of Coins. So the Four of Coins is the Four of Pentacles. This is about scarcity mindset. So yeah, it could be something that we're looking at. I'm always working on this mindset that we're abundant, but abundance comes from within. So we are given everything. At the Big Bang, this world was, every potentiality was already created, and we appropriate it from within. And the more we trust, the more we can call forth the resources and things we need for whatever we're doing. Now, obviously, the Spirit still wants us to transcend everything within this world, but also wants us to be comfortable in the process of doing that. The Spirit, I think it does say in A Course in Miracles something along the lines of that the Spirit won't deprive us of anything that we think we need on our path. And just a reminder that we can appropriate everything from within. And when we have fear or darkness come up, then we need to not take it seriously. And we have the strength within us to kind of overthrow whatever doubt comes up. I know in the past when doubts and things have come up, they've kind of wrestled me to the ground and put me off. Whereas now, if some doubt comes up, I just say no to it and kind of laugh at it and put it in its place, because it has no place. It really has no place. It's the devil. And if we give in to doubt, then we're essentially aligning with the devil, which we don't want to do. The Spirit doesn't want us to do it. It doesn't feel good for us to do it. And it's not expansive for us to do it. So yeah, we need to always be transmuting this fear and telling it no. A lot of cards. Let's see what comes out. Seven of Wands. So yeah, the Seven of Wands is about being very tenacious and not giving in to the ego and just being very resolute. We will experience potentially people who are doubting and things in the external world, which are just a reflection of our doubts. So we don't want to be dragged down by them. I think this reading seems to be very much about us stepping into our power and understanding that we've got to say no to its nonsense, to the ego's nonsense. And we have the capacity to do that. We can really have the courage of our conviction and remember that whatever we decree is what is. And even if the ego does give us some sort of backlash, we can just tell it no and notice any feelings that come up, any struggle, any vulnerability, and just feel it. But don't believe in it. Don't invest in it. We need to be true to the right mind. The right mind does not believe that we are weak. So the Knight of Swords card is, he's very brave and determined, I guess. He's quick-witted. He can laugh at the ego and understand that life is kind of not a battle. I don't want to say a battle on the level of the mind, but yeah, we do need to master the mind when we're here. And this Knight of Swords card, he's just going for it. He's going to overcome everything. He's just not fazed by it. And that's the way we need to be. We need to just cut through the ego's nonsense and not buy into it. And the Justice card, the Justice card shows us that fairness will prevail, the truth will come out, and that God is merciful, and we need to choose wisely, because whatever we choose, we will be on the receiving end of. So if we choose to cower to the fear, then we'll be rewarded in a way that we don't want. And we really need to not do that. And sometimes with the Four of Swords card, it means that we might need to rest. Not necessarily for any period of time, but we just might, in our mind, need to retreat and give ourselves some space when the ego is trying to wrestle us to the ground. Say no to it. And then if a lot of heavy energy comes up, then we might need to process it, because I often find that integration happens when we feel like the ego will convince us when we're going through integration that we're boring and we're stuck and we're not making any progress. And we know that in A Course in Miracles that Jesus says that we can't judge our advances from our retreats, and we really can't when we listen to the ego, because the ego will tell us a load of nonsense and we're so used to listening to it that we believe it. But in my experience, whenever we feel resistance or we feel like we're stuck, that's actually when we're making progress. That's when we're stretching out of our comfort zone. So we need to accept that we are doing well. The Wheel of Fortune. Yeah, so the Wheel of Fortune basically shows us that what comes around, what goes around comes around, and we just need to be optimistic and understand that everything that happens to us is helpful. And even if something doesn't feel comfortable, it'll shift and pass and it'll move on. It's kind of our job to work with the process and let things spiral up and pass out, however you want to call it. So yeah, it's almost as if we need to accept that our destiny is to face the darkness and to go through it, to reach the light. The darkness is really it's just an illusion, because it wasn't created by God, and it's just in the mind, and we can go past it. And as we're on our spiritual journey, the light will push the darkness up. You know, the more we heal, the more the darkness has got to come up to be flushed out and purged out. And when it comes up, we tend to believe that it's because we're bad, but really it's not. It's because we're getting stronger, and it's time for it to come up again, and for us to see it for the joke that it is, but also process the emotions as they come. The Ten of Swords. Yeah, so the Ten of Swords is a card about hitting rock bottom. We can feel very caught off guard when this happens, very much like a victim. But we know that the next thing that comes after the 10 is the Ace. It's a new opportunity. So even though it feels brutal and we've been stabbed in the back, we know that that's literally just a concept. Being betrayed is just a concept. And it shows us where we're betraying ourselves. And we get to look at it with the spirit and strengthen ourselves a little bit more. And we realise that whenever this 10 of Swords happens and we feel as if we've been stabbed in the back by 10 swords, then it feels very heavy, but at the same time we get stabbed in the back by 10 swords and then we go back to the Ace, which means that we can't really be killed. Yeah, it could feel as though it's brutal and heavy, but we can weather it, and we often do many times over on this path. So much so that we just start to think, oh, here we go again, and it comes up again, and we just go through it. We just face it because we can, because it's just a concept. And no one can pull us down. And the more we get pulled down, the stronger we get, because we get back up again and we learn a little bit more each time about how to trust and how to be resilient and how to use the difficult endings and painful situations as a fodder for moving forward, to help us see where we're kind of stabbing ourselves in the back or betraying ourselves. The Ace of Coins. So the Ace of Coins is all about that fresh new start. And whenever we do have this Ten of Swords ending, then what comes next will have to be a new start. It could be that we just go into, we move forward with a different mindset. Yeah, and we nurture whatever it is. It may be that we've kind of gone deeper, because when we feel betrayed, it pushes us into a place of feeling very powerless, and then that makes us angry, and we start to take our power back. So whenever we do that, we feel inspired to move into something new, and that new thing is what we need to put our hope and our faith in, because it could be any kind of new opportunity to heal, but they're always provided and they always come after the 10. And the Chariot is all about moving forward in a balanced way. You can see here this chap has got a black horse and a white horse, which is symbolic of us integrating the darkness of the light and then moving forwards. And we have to be very determined and strong. And every time we see or we have an experience where we feel completely knocked down and then we get up again and start again, we do feel more fortified. And the temptation is to feel like, oh, I always keep getting knocked down, you know, I never get anywhere. But it's really not true. And when we look back at things that have happened to us in the past, we see how much we've grown with hindsight or Christ vision. We really are toughening up all the time. So doing this shadow work is super important. And the Ace of Swords is all about having an epiphany and just mental expansion. We can feel deeper connected with the spirit. Every time something seems to go wrong in form, then we are required to dig deeper and to connect with the higher version of ourselves, to connect with the spirit, and just see that consciousness never goes backwards, and that everything is always an opportunity to level up. Everything has a different interpretation with the spirit. And the Ace of Swords is a card that brings us that new insight and allows us to expand the mind over and over. So it's exciting, really. We're always moving forwards, even if we feel as though we're going backwards. In fact, every time we think we're going backwards, we're actually going forwards, because the ego is a liar. So yeah, I feel like that was quite a heavy reading today, but also empowering in that it's just part of the process, and we don't need to be too distressed about it, because I found that we just get stronger and stronger, and the more darkness that gets purged out of us, the more opportunities we get to see the things that we do to ourselves that aren't loving, the more they get to come up in our face, and then we get to deal with them. So essentially, from a bigger picture perspective, everything is being purged out bit by bit. It's like a baptism by fire, but it's all helping us, and so it's a good thing. And we know that whenever we've hit rock bottom, that the only way is up. And I think that is the message from here, is that, yeah, just keep going, that we're doing well. Okay, I love you all. Bye.